Hey, thank you for choosing to spend some time with us here at Awake the Iron. These podcasts are also posted as videos on our website, so be sure to visit awaketheiron.com. While you're there, be sure to check out the Awake the Iron Academy. You'll never be bored again as you explore vast archives of videos, interviews, documents, lectures, humor, and more, covering an ever-increasing range of topics. Think of it like a self-guided, self-paced college, but without the mountains of debt. We would also love to hear from you, and you can do that two ways, either through the website contact form, or leave us a voice message by calling the Awake the Iron hotline. That's 601-654-IRON. I really want to thank you for being with us this far. If you've been a subscriber or a listener or viewer from the beginning, that's awesome. I appreciate the support. And hopefully you find a lot of the stuff we're doing pretty interesting. And I just wanted to let you know that moving forward from here, we could be getting into some topics that some people consider a little bit fringe, which is fine. I'm excited about looking at anything. I'll listen to anyone, right? And just want you to keep an open mind. The podcast is about exposing deception. And when you do that, usually you can uncover the truth, or at least get on a path to the truth. So I'm basically only interested, other than exposing deception, I'm only interested in what's true and what's real. And I'm willing to go down any path or any rabbit hole or upturn any rock just to see, and try to make sense of things. So in order to figure out what's true and what's real, and maybe put aside any cognitive biases or anything like that, this episode is about logical fallacies. And it's something that we never really learned much about, unless maybe you were on a debate team or something. But I think it's important to go over these so that when you are listening to arguments or people, you're listening to people who are pleading their case, like, this is why I think this is true. There's a lot of times that logical fallacies are committed and they just go unrecognized, unnoticed. So we want to be sharp, right? As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And so we want to be sharp. So we're going to sharpen each other with learning how to spot logical fallacies, what they mean, how it ends someone's argument, I guess you could call it, their point of view. If you have flawed reasoning in your point of view, then you got to stop and reanalyze and go, okay, maybe I should rethink what I'm thinking, right? So anyway, hold on to your hats because things are about to get real interesting. And again, me personally, I'm only interested in what's true and what's real. I'm willing to put aside anything I thought was true before and I was wrong, to just follow that path. And hopefully you'll stick around and go on the journey with us. Okay? All right, let's do it.
Awake the Iron.
All right. Welcome back for another segment of Awake the Iron. I'm your host, Kason Pratt, and with me as usual is CJ, the Lion of Losantiville, and we have Karis, the Pilgrim of Persepolis, with us as well. And we've been trying to put this one together for a little while. We had some things come up and it was like, oh, we got to postpone or whatever. We've been talking about it for a long time. But we're going to be talking about logical fallacies. And not too long ago, I was like, well, I don't even know what that is. But and it's something that I don't know, I never really learned, not really, maybe touched on here and there, even as a young adult in college. So um yeah, we're gonna go through a few. What I did was I have a deck of cards. Actually, Karis gave to me right here. Here's the box. It's a logical fallacy, critical thinking cards. There's 24 logical fallacies and there's 24 cognitive biases, and they're in card form. And it's pretty cool because they even talk about, like, there's a game you can play with it where you can lay out a bunch of the logical fallacy cards on the floor or table and then watch the news. And then whenever you spot one, you take the card, and then after the news is over, you see who wins. And I haven't done that yet because I'm learning some of these, but just the fact that the people that made the cards think that there's enough fallacies committed that it can make a game out of it, to me is a little bit of a red flag. Like, why are there so many, so many fallacies? And yeah, so this little deck is cool. I think the website is yourlogicalfallacyis.com. I think that's and you got all these cards. And so what I did was, and we'll actually define what a logical fallacy is, and we'll talk a little bit about before we get started. But I pulled out 9 fallacies that out of the 24, so there's still a lot more, and there's even more than that, right? But I pulled out 9 that I thought were committed all the time. Like, these are ones you can spot all the time once we learn about them a little bit. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I like to learn, and I've been getting better at spotting some of these, and it takes a little practice sometimes. So what we're going to do is what I did was I took the 9 cards, I shuffled them, and I like dealt them out. And so CJ has 3, I have 3, Karis has 3, and we'll go round the horn and explain what each one is. Maybe have some examples. We could even discuss it a little bit. And before we started, I was talking about we were talking about maybe putting a 5-minute time limit just as a guideline, because it can go. We can really get down some rabbit holes even on some of these, and you start thinking about examples and stuff, right? So yeah, so we'll do that. And what is a logical fallacy, right? What is a fallacy? I actually have a definition right here. This is from that website. It says a logical fallacy is a flaw in reasoning. Logical fallacies are like tricks or illusions of thought, and they're often very sneakily used by politicians and the media to fool people. Don't be fooled. And then, on their websites, like, hey, you can get these cards to help you learn, or you can actually, on this website, you can look at all the examples and things, and without paying anything, if you just want to learn. And there's tons of stuff out there. So it's a flaw in reasoning. And I would argue that it said, it could be a trick to fool people. And I believe that's true. But sometimes I think people commit these fallacies in their reasoning without meaning to. Just in everyday conversation. Now, if it's the media wants, or if you think of politicians like debating each other, there's a lot, and when that happens, so that's trying to fool people with flaws in the reasoning that most people just don't pick up on. So that's kind of what they are. And I wanted to ask you guys too, because I actually had a viewer/listener, who I'm friends with that I was talking about this topic. I said, "Oh, we might do it." He's like, he's always like, "Hey, what's up next?" And I said, "We might do one on logical fallacies." And he said, "Oh, make sure you talk about why, why it's important to understand these and why are so many people, quote unquote, allowed to get away with it, right?" So I think those are good questions. So, um, yeah, either of you have a thought on why why is this important, and so why is this a problem? Because on our show we talk about thinking critically and being thorough and things like that. So why is it a big deal?
Well, I think it'll hopefully it'll become apparent once we start going through some of these. So, the audience can sort of figure out, oh yeah, okay, I've heard something like that before. But just to answer the question now, um, yeah, I think a lot of people just take what people say and then think it's true, whether that's a headline on the news or something that some supposed authority figure says, you know. So they might be giving a speech or reporting something such and such happened, and because blah blah blah, then this, and so we're gonna do this, and like, oh, okay. So then you just go with it. So logical fallacies. If you know logical fallacies, you can identify like, wait, that's a fallacy. Well, yeah, like what is a logical fallacy, right? Well, it's an error in logic, so it doesn't follow that you can say that and then that means the next thing is true and that means the next thing is true. It might be true, but to be logical, to come up with an answer or a conclusion, it has to be valid, has to be logically valid.
Yeah, very good. So if you're in a discussion, or more importantly, like a debate, you're arguing with somebody, let's say, you it's it's reasonable to resolve the fallacy before you continue. So if someone's saying something and they commit a fallacy and you point it out, you can't really move forward. I think it's like fair. It's fair game. It's reasonable to need to resolve the fallacy before continuing, or have the person rephrase what they're saying or asking in a way that is logically sound. And I watch a lot of debates and arguments and things, and um, the ones that are the most annoying to watch are the ones that the people committing the fallacies don't even understand what they're doing, or they hand wave away the importance of resolving that before going on, and then they just go on, and it's scattergunning with their whatever they're saying, and it just it's frustrating to watch that, because I'm a terribly logical person. I'm not I'm not bragging or anything. It's just like that's how my brain works. So I step it through a process, just everything I do. So yeah, very good. I think this is hugely important. And I've been wanting to get to it in on this show for a while, because moving forward, we're going to need these tools to properly analyze and discuss things in the future, that topics we have planned. So, with all that said, yeah, Karis, go ahead.
Yeah, I like what you said about even inadvertently doing them yourself. I know I have been guilty of it.
Me too.
And kind of in line with what we were just talking about, I think a lot of times they're used either intentionally or unintentionally to win someone over to our opinion, or not even win them over, but beat them into it. And so it's important to realize we should be using an argument that's actually a reason for why we believe. And if it's a logical fallacy, it's not a true, it's not a true argument for that position, right? we're going to list some of them, but one of them is called appeal to emotion. So we're just appealing to their emotions and not addressing the topic at hand, simply to get them to agree with us or buy into our opinion. So it's good to recognize both when it's done to us and when we might be doing it, and stick to the nuts and bolts of the thing we're discussing.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, very good.
Mhm.
Okay. So unless there's anything else on a broad level, we can get started with these. And these are really fun. Well, I mean, they're fun to study. I like to. And I try to pick these out when I'm watching things or listening to people talk, and I'm getting better. But what I'm going to do is I have the first one, which is called Black or White. And let me just get my timer started here, and just to keep me on track. Okay, so the black or white fallacy is, the definition is where two alternative states are presented as the only possibilities, when in fact more possibilities exist. So black or white is where two alternative states presented as the only possibilities, when in fact more possibilities exist. So before I do maybe a couple of my examples, just think about that for a second, and you might even be able to come up with a few thoughts about it. But just a simple example that I came up with was, here you go. Here's just an example. To fix our education problem, we must either raise taxes or assign more homework. Right? To fix our education, you might hear a politician or someone say something like that. To fix our education problem, we must either raise taxes or assign more homework. Would you two agree that that's a good example of that?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because there might be other ways, right? And they might say, we don't want to give more homework, so I guess we're going to raise taxes because that's all there is.
Right. But there could be 1,000 different things to do, right? And I would go even a little deeper on that example and say, like, you almost have to define, this isn't really a fallacy, but if that was the statement, you almost have to define, what is the problem, right? To fix our education. Okay, it needs fixed. Well, what's wrong with it? Like, so sometimes there's just these blanket statements. It's like, whoa, back up, man, but I've heard very similar things to that. And then sometimes on the card, if there's a good example of it, here's an example on the card. It says, whilst rallying support for his plan to fundamentally undermine citizens' rights, the supreme leader told the people they were either on his side or on the side of the enemy.
Yeah, actually, I've heard that last one from
Yeah.
maybe
Mhm.
George W. Bush or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So,
And yeah,
okay.
if you're not keen on the fallacy,
Mhm.
you might get sucked into that. Like, oh yeah, I guess so. So
Yeah,
I guess we're for the president and what he's saying. Yay.
yeah,
One example I thought of is sometimes those ballot measures, like for the issues. A lot of times they include a ton of different things, but the main title might be like, taxes to help the library or something like that. But maybe there's all these other things inside. So you might vote no because you don't want the whole package. And then someone might call you out and say, don't you support the library?
yeah, You
Right.
hate kids. You hate kids.
Why do you hate learning or something like that? And it's more complex. It's not just, I didn't vote for that, therefore I don't like the library. That's not,
Right. Just
yeah,
it's not as black and white.
right. Mhm.
Hey, it's called black or white.
Yay.
Okay, very good. I got about 30 seconds, so that timed out pretty good. It could have gone longer, but I think we went to the end of that one. So, okay. So up next would be Karis with appeal to emotion.
Yeah. This one probably you can guess what it means just by the title. But a definition would be using emotional appeals such as pity, fear, or joy instead of relevant facts and logic to support a claim. So mostly we're talking about logical fallacies in the context of arguing the evidence or the reason to believe something. But this is very common in advertising, if you think about it, right? How many commercials, whether it's just a print ad or a video, on a commercial that shows people beautiful and having fun, if you buy this product. And if you think about it, that's no evidence for how good the product is. It just appeals to your emotion of wanting to have a joyful life or a less painful, life or situation if you get that product. And like pharmaceutical commercials, I think do this too. It shows the people, riding on a boat in the ocean with the breeze in their hair because this drug helps them with their arthritis or whatever. So, don't worry about the details of if that drug is good for you in other ways or not. Don't you want to be riding on a sailboat? So buy this drug or something. Yeah. And I had a personal example of this in our very first episode. We might have talked about how I was living in Seattle and it was during 2020 with all the craziness started happening with the pandemic. And I would be out with some people holding up signs, encouraging people to, question the narrative and think for themselves. And how many times did someone roll down their window and yell at us, "People are dying"? I mean, that's the ultimate appeal. Don't you care about human lives? And of course I do. But they were using that to shut down our encouragement to just do your research, look at evidence, question what those in authority might be telling you. So if we had been one-on-one, that I could say, hey, you're using appeal to emotion. It's not a real argument.
Yeah, very good. And I think about like Ron Paul. Ron Paul used to, want to close the Department of Education, and people would be like, "Oh, he hates kids" or whatever. And although just saying that isn't a great example of the logical fallacy in that form, but it was kind of that under that same line, like, no, there's more to it than that. Yeah. Okay.
That might be even mixes with the black and white from earlier,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Some of these, I don't know about the ones that we're doing here today, but a lot of fallacies are very close to each other. Actually, I think CJ even like texted me one time or something. It was like, what's the one where this happened? And I was like, is it this one? No, because this and that. So there's little intricacies, but a lot of times I will recognize there is a flaw there. I just don't know which one it is, of the of the ones that are there. So,
and that might be good to remember, just that even if you don't memorize the list of dozens, just to be aware as you're going about things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah, just recognize it and be like, oh yeah, there's something not right about that. And yeah, you can always later like go figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty good on time if we're sticking to our 5 minutes. All right, so CJ has got this is a biggie. This one is committed all the time. The begging the question fallacy, right?
Yeah. So begging the question, it's a circular argument in which the conclusion is included in the premise. Sometimes it's called assuming the outcome. And basically, it's claim A assumes A is valid. Therefore, A is correct. So here's an example. Because Robert is too old to travel, he shouldn't. Okay, now it begs the question, is Robert really too old to travel?
Oh, right.
Hmm.
Okay. Now this is related to circular reasoning, and some people call this one circular reasoning. Circular reasoning is a type of begging the question. So it can be a little more extensive or convoluted. Using sort of that same example of Robert being too old, circular reason is claim A proves B, therefore B. Oh, sorry. Claim A proves B, therefore claim B proves A. So it would go like this. Robert is too old to travel. Why? Because he's over 65. And when you're over 65, you're too old to travel. So it's like two statements, but it's like circular because the reason is whatever your reason is, it's still not really proof. You're just saying the reason is because of the first thing, and the first thing is because of the second thing. So yeah, and here's a couple more examples. Smoking cigarettes can kill you because cigarettes are deadly. Right? I mean, it's pretty straightforward because that's basically just saying the same thing.
Same thing.
Right? And that's what begging the question is. Like, well, wait, how do you know they're deadly? Okay. And it doesn't mean, just to point out too, if somebody commits a logical fallacy, it doesn't mean the statement is false.
Yeah.
In other words, cigarettes maybe really are deadly and they can kill you. So it doesn't mean, nope, that's not true because you committed a fallacy. It just means the reason and your explanation doesn't hold up. So you can't just say smoking cigarettes can kill you because they're deadly. Like, well, that's the definition of deadly, is it can kill you. So you're not really following a logical system, right?
I think our cards call that the fallacy. We're just scrapping the whole possibility of truth because a fallacy was committed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
The fallacy.
Hey, that's not one of our 9.
Not one of it, but don't get caught in that.
That is one. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what he was just explaining is that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you commit a fallacy doesn't mean it's untrue, right? Whatever is being said. Right. Yeah, very good.
So another one is Gale is afraid of heights because he has acrophobia.
Which is fear of heights.
Right. So basically what you're saying is Gale is afraid of heights because he's afraid of heights. Okay. So that's
right.
Yeah. Now here's one that's more circular. So it's a little longer because you got to get to the end and then it comes all the way back. Objects fall to the ground. Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. Scratch that. This isn't a longer one, but it's still a begging the question. Okay. Objects fall to the ground because of gravity. Okay, so that's the whole statement. You're like, okay, sounds reasonable. However, if you think about it, gravity is a term to describe the fact that objects fall. It doesn't explain how. So basically you're saying objects fall to the ground because of something that we say things fall to the ground.
Interesting.
Right? In fact, side note, Newton himself said the law of gravity doesn't tell us why objects do this. It just gives a mathematical description of the fact that they do.
That's really good.
Interesting. Okay.
And then here's the one that's a little more circular. Evolution needs billions of years to work. Since humans evolved from amoebas, the Earth is billions of years old, because that's how long it would take. I made that one up. I mean, I composed that one because some people do think that and say that.
That's right. Yeah.
Evolution needs billions of years to work. But if you end there, like, we need proof of that, right? So, maybe the next statement is the proof, right? Since humans evolved from amoebas, and that would take billions of years, then the Earth is billions of years old.
Yes.
So it's like, that is an explanation if it works that way and if it does that, but you don't have anything besides that to prove that. So it's just a circular reasoning. It's just begging the question of, well, how do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that?
Right. So you're saying the premise of, since humans evolved from amoebas, it's just assuming that that's fact, truth, proven, and then it's going on to base something on it. But you're saying, wait, I have a question about even that. And right. And that's probably why it's called begging the questions. Like, yeah.
Right.
I beg you answer this question or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I think I went over the time, but I had several.
Pretty close. It's pretty close. No, those are great. Those are great. And before you went, I said this one's committed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. All right. Anything else? We'll go to the next one.
It's good.
Okay. It's back to me, I think, and I have a straw man fallacy. And basically, a straw man is misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. Misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. On the card here, we got another little example on the card from the deck. Is after Bob said that he would be nice to kittens, Will says Bob wants to be mean to puppies. Everyone boos Bob, who is clearly a mean jerk for wanting to hurt poor cute puppies. What? He never said that, right? So this one, this is another biggie that happens if you watch political debates, especially. This is a big one, right? It's changing their argument. Well, not even changing it. You're just like making up something that they never said.
Well, yeah, and let me just jump in. I think the name straw man, it's like you build up a straw man, which isn't a real man. And then that's easy to tear down because it's just a straw man. I sounded like it's a straw man.
Straw man.
Right. So that's what it's like. You tear down the argument, but that wasn't really their argument. You made a straw man.
And a lot of times the straw man fallacy is preceded by, so are you saying, and then ... right? Fill in the blank, right? So let me go back to my Ron Paul thing. So Ron Paul says, yeah, we need to get rid of the Department of Education. And then maybe the interviewer says, are you saying you hate kids and don't want them to learn? Ron Paul wants kids to be stupid, right? And we can't have stupid kids and blah, blah, and you go off on this whole thing. Well, that was a straw man argument. He never said that. Let me try something here. One sec. Let me share my screen. Let me just try this video.
So strawman fallacy occurs when someone takes your argument, claim, or opinion and distorts it into some kind of extreme version. And then after that, they attack that extremist version as if that was really the argument you were making. So you'll see this a lot in mainstream media, the news, and especially when it comes to political debates. You'll notice that this fallacy almost always follows the phrase.
No, I'm not saying that.
You're just saying
murderous.
things. You're saying it.
And I actually haven't said that.
You're saying that. So you're saying. So
Like,
you're not going to say
seriously-
it's what you're saying.
And
So
so does
you're
promotion.
saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top companies.
No, I didn't say that at all.
You said that.
So to bring it all together, here is a real life example of the straw man fallacy.
Mister, don't you shouldn't litter. It's bad for the planet.
Oh, it's bad for the planet? Oh, what? If I litter one time, all of a sudden the planet is going to explode or something? So you're telling me global warming and all these tsunamis and all the hurricanes and earthquakes is my fault just because I threw that one piece of litter? Is that what you're telling me? Hey, buddy, why don't we go ahead and do a little rain dance over there in the Amazon, huh, then? Oh, you probably thought me throwing that little piece of trash caused droughts all over the world. You know what, then? Why don't we go down to every single place that's droughted out and have you do a little rain dance? See if that fixes it. You probably think you're better than me, huh? Well, I got news for you, buddy. It doesn't work like that.
Okay. So, yeah. That was pretty good explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the Jordan Peterson clip, that lady was like, so you're saying. She was just one after the other. And I've seen that whole interview in its entirety too. So anyway, okay. I didn't explain it well at the beginning, but I fixed it. So and then that guy has, like every fallacy, he does videos. So it's pretty fun. So straw man, yep. Build up a fake argument the person never said and then attack that. And people fall for that, they don't. It's like get back to the other thing. So okay, anything else on that? Good. Okay,
Good.
Let's see, let's go ahead and go to the next one, which is gonna be Karis. Loaded question.
I like this one. I mean, I don't like it. It's fun, like you said. This is good. So loaded question sometimes could also be the same as a complex question. It's often kind of posed as a trick question that presupposes at least one assumption that the person being questioned is likely to disagree with. That sounds kind of convoluted, but the examples that I'll share will make sense. It can also be two questions kind of designed as one, disguised. Two questions disguised as one question, often used by chicanerous lawyers to entrap. Probably see good examples of this in like courtroom scenes in shows and movies where they try to catch them by this kind of double question. But anyway, here's the classic one used to explain this is, have you stopped beating your wife? So, right, if let's say this person does not beat their wife and never has, how do you answer that? Yes or no? If you answer yes, I've stopped. Oh, so you
were,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you say no, oh, you're still beating your, right? They can't win. So it's like these kind of questions that you can't win by saying yes or no. I'll throw out a few others. Did you vote for that incompetent buffoon? Right? You don't want to admit you voted for someone incompetent, but if you did vote for them, maybe you don't think they're incompetent, but you can't. Yeah. When did you become so unhappy? Am I unhappy? Right? Here's one that's kind of innocent, but where did you go to university? So if you don't know the person and you don't know, you're assuming they did, maybe they didn't, and then they might feel awkward answering that question. So yeah, those were simple examples, but hopefully you get the idea.
Yeah, that's good. Now that you kind of went through that, I think I hear those kind of things a lot, especially like, did you vote for, what did you say, the vote one? Did you vote for that buffoon or something? Incompetent buffoon.
Yeah. Did you vote for that incompetent buffoon?
Right. And it's like, yeah, that's a loaded question, right? It's like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I didn't. If I did, I thought this person was, capable, and you have to go back and prove they were an incompetent buffoon first, right? yeah, if you were arguing with somebody.
I also
But-
think a classic example from like the courtroom scenes is where the person feels cornered on the stand and they try to explain their answer, but the lawyers just say yes or no, yes or no.
Mm,
And I always thought that was unfair because I could see where the entrapment was trying to happen, and that it required a more nuanced, complex answer to actually tell the whole truth. But if the person's being pushed to yes or no, they feel trapped, and it's usually
Right. Like if it's a really complex
yeah,
question, like, did you come home 30 minutes early and find your wife, and then
Yeah.
that's because of this, and then you went over there, yes or no? It's like,
right,
well, part of that might have been true and not the
Exactly.
other. Yeah.
mhm.
yeah,
Granny used to do this one to me as a joke.
Oh.
Like we'd go to visit my granny, and she, giving hugs, and she would, because she was really short, and she'd get right in my face. She'd go, "Now, have you stopped beating your wife? Answer me yes or no," just as a joke, right? Because there's no way to answer it. And she was good with words, and she knew what she was doing. It was just a gag.
Mhm.
Yeah, but people do it, and they don't realize it, and people listening don't realize it's occurring, and then you go off on some tangent. So yeah, these things need resolved before you can move forward. And so just talking to anyone watching this or listening, don't be afraid to slow the conversation down. Say, well, hold on a second, let's back up. I we need to clarify these things before we move on. So good, very good. Anything else on that one? Loaded question. We good? Good. All right. Moving along. Yeah, I think we'll just keep going. So we're up to CJ's got ad hominem. Ad hominem.
Yeah. So ad hominem is attacking someone's character or personal traits in an attempt to undermine their argument. I think it's of the man is the Latin, something like that. An example, this one's not really an argument, but you'll see. The neighbor said a tornado is coming, and someone else says, oh, he's an alcoholic. So that's not really an argument for like that a tornado exists, but the idea is dismissing something just because of the person who said it. So he might be an alcoholic, and maybe he's untrustworthy or something, but I would still check and see if there's a tornado. Right? It doesn't mean what he said was false just because he's an alcoholic. Or let's say I tell my friend, there's no proof of an actual SARS-CoV-2 virus from a sick person ever causing disease. And his response to me is, oh, you're not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so kind of attacking my character or personal traits, dismissing my claim simply because of a personal trait about me. Another example is Jake has always been critical of the school board. He will say that the board wronged students regardless of the circumstance. Okay, so the idea there is there's no attempt to actually address Jake's argument. So Jake is at the school board, right, and he's saying something, and this person is saying, oh, he's always been critical, so he'll always say something that's blah, 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 right? So you're not addressing whatever Jake's argument was, you're just saying something about him.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, this one's used a lot to discredit the person saying whatever they're saying, right? So, Bob down at the gas station, wears a tinfoil hat and thinks that there's lizard people, let's say, right? And then he says, well, masks don't really do what they say they do. And you're like, well, you wear a tinfoil hat and you think there's lizard people, right? So yeah, maybe those things are crazy. I don't know, but the thing we're talking about is the thing we're talking about. Doesn't matter who said it or anything that you would attack them personally for, right? Yeah, this is another biggie. Maybe it feels like I'm saying that about all of them, but that's why I picked these specifically out of the deck to go over, because they're committed a lot. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Ad hom, right? So you'll people say you'll hear people sometimes, quit ad homing me, right? In an argument or something. That's what they're talking about. Very good. Anything else on that? Fleshed it out. Okay, let's just keep going. These are good. Where are we at? Now we're back to me. False cause. False cause. Oh yeah, I like this one. Just like Kara said, I like it, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's false cause. Presuming that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other. Okay, so presuming that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other. So here's an example. My grandma was sick and I went to visit her. Now I'm sick. Therefore, grandma made me sick. Right? Maybe. But to just assume it right away, right? Or here's another one. I went to Japan for vacation, and when I came home, I was an inch taller. So going to Japan makes people taller. Okay. That's yeah, that's I think those are good examples, right? It doesn't necessarily mean
It's like things could be correlated. So I've heard people say,
yes,
correlation should not be confused with causation.
Mhm.
So there might be a correlation. There might even be something that seems like even more reasonable. Like going to Japan makes you an inch taller. Okay, well, most people would think that's a stretch. It's a stretch. But there might be statements or arguments of correlation. Maybe like the grandma getting a sick one, where it seems like, oh, that does seem like the cause. But yeah, the fallacy is just saying that just because it's correlated doesn't mean it's the cause.
Yeah.
right.
And it seems like too, there could be multiple causes in combination. The one thing could be a partial cause, but maybe it's not the whole story. That's another option.
Yes. So let me play this quick thing for you.
Oh, that thing's clearly in the way. All right. Aha!
Hey, Joey. How you doing?
Great. Roomie?
Yeah, I guess we are roommates now.
Yeah. Oh, now that you bring it up, our fridge is broken. We have to get a new one. I checked around, and your half is $400. Thanks a lot, man.
I'm not paying for half of that. I'm only staying here until my apartment gets fixed.
Look, Rich, my parents bought this fridge just after I was born, okay? Now, I have never had a problem with it. Then you show up and it breaks. What does that tell you?
Yeah. So I had this fridge my whole life, and then you move in and it breaks, so you owe me money because you broke it, right?
Yeah.
It was a perfect example for that one. False cause.
Yep.
Okay. It's pretty good on that one. All right. Next up, we have Karis with the bandwagon fallacy. Go for it.
Yeah. So this one is probably commonly acknowledged or used term, right? We talk about jumping on the bandwagon, so we already kind of are familiar. But it's basically the claim that the popularity of something is evidence that it's true or that it's good. Another name for it is appeal to popularity. I don't really have any specific examples, but things like peer pressure, social pressure reflect this, as well as advertising as well. And I just think of the best example of it is the phrase, everybody's doing it, or everybody who's anybody knows, blah, blah, blah. And for this one, I kind of just put together a little visual aid of how much this happens or, comes across our radar. Oh, yeah. So the cover of it. Yeah. So it's kind of advertising. Australia, you've made the switch. Over 1 million Australians have already tried Oral-B toothpaste. So, no claim of what it does or what's in it or anything, just 1 million people did it. And then just that's supposed to make me go, oh, okay, I'm going to use it.
So because of that,
Mm-hmm.
I should do it, right? That's the fallacy, just because. Yeah.
Just because. And then if you hit the next, there'll be a little animation we can look at, and I'll explain it. So you're seeing these are little just snapshots I took, off of the computer from each one of them. I think says some form of everybody's doing this. So, for example, I'll read some of them out for people who can't see the screen. Oh, it's small. I can't read it. Everybody's doing it. Voting, go out and vote. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's just the reason given is everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing meditation. The side hustle. Everybody's doing it. So why aren't you? Everybody's doing recycling. Everybody's doing sober October. Anyway, you get the idea. This is very common on especially social media, and that's probably where I grabbed a bunch of these screenshots. But you can see they're just, don't you want to be part of the in crowd? Do this thing.
Yeah, everybody's getting a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody knows that vaccines stop transmission.
Mm-hmm.
Or everybody believes, right? Everybody believes blah, blah, blah. Which,
right.
I have to point out, it is sort of convincing, like, depending on what your personality is. Like if 1 million people have switched to that toothpaste, like, okay, well, it can't be that horrible. Like, maybe I do want to try it, right?
Yeah.
So I can see how you might get sucked in.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, bandwagon. Yeah, that's good. That was a good example there.
Mm-hmm.
Good timing. Okay. I think we just have one more.
Yeah.
We went through these pretty good. CJ with appeal to authority. This is a biggie.
They're all a biggie.
They are.
Appeal to authority, aka appeal to false authority. Using the opinion or position of an authority figure or institution of authority in place of an actual argument. In other words, because an authority says something, it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
Example, the Pope said face masks help reduce the transmission of COVID-19. So that's an appeal to false authority because the Pope isn't an authority on viruses or microbiology. So apparently, and I say apparently because, well, let's just wait. Apparently, it should not be used to dismiss the claims of experts or scientific consensus. Okay, this is what I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is possible that the opinion of an authority, person, or institution is wrong. Therefore, the authority that such a person or institution holds does not have any intrinsic bearing upon whether their claims are true or not. Okay, so some people would say, appeal to authority is appeal to false authority. In other words, the Pope talking about masks, okay, no. But if the CDC says it, then yes, it's true because they are an authority, right? But okay, still it should be, well, just because the CDC said it, even though they are a medical institution, doesn't mean it's true. So here's another example. The CDC says stay 6 feet apart to reduce the risk of getting COVID. So again, they might be an authority on disease, but the statement requires further evidence. It's not just true because the CDC said so.
Yeah.
Or experts conclude that our product will increase your lifespan by 5 to 10 years. So this is an anonymous authority, right? Who are they? What, you can't just say some experts say this. And my last example, my friend is a lawyer and she says the fair use law is a sham. Okay, now, just because she's a lawyer doesn't mean she's correct about that. And she could be a divorce attorney and know nothing about fair use law. Or even if she does, still might not be right just because she's an authority on that matter.
Good.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good.
This
Okay.
This one strikes me as almost the flip side of ad hominem, kind of.
Yeah.
Like ad hominem is you're attacking their character, so it's false. This is uplifting, not really their character, but their position, I guess, and then assuming everything they say about that is true.
Yeah, it is. It's because it's them, it's true. And the ad hominem is because it's them, it's false. Yeah. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, so anybody watching or listening, just consider these, study them. That's what I've been doing, and then practice. Like when you're just listening, to see if you can pick out, that's a fallacy, but I don't know which one it is. You could even write it down, and then write down what was said, and then figure it out. We'll do a little bonus one because we were talking about the fallacy, and I'll read the example that's on the card that's from the deck. It's because it's pretty good. And I'll quiz you on what fallacy was committed in this too. So it says, this is the fallacy example. Recognizing that Amanda had committed a fallacy in arguing that we should eat healthy food because a nutritionist said it was popular. Elise said we should therefore eat bacon double cheeseburgers every day. What was the original fallacy, right? Amanda argued that we should eat healthy food because a nutritionist said it was popular, right?
I think there's two.
Okay. What are they?
One is appeal to authority.
Right, because the nutritionist said so, but the nutritionist said it was popular.
So bandwagon also.
Awesome. Yeah. And then see, this Elise person says, well, we should therefore eat bacon double cheeseburgers every day. Right. So just because Amanda made a couple fallacies, it doesn't mean her statement isn't true that we should eat healthy food. Right. Yeah. So that was a good one. And you guys got 2 gold stars. 2 gold stars. Okay. This was pretty good. And I don't know, we could even do more another time even. But these are the main ones. And that the website you could look up, you could just search, logical fallacies, and there's all kinds of lists and examples. And so if you're watching or listening, just keep an eye out. And so these are tools for our tool belt as we go forward from here. And we're going to get into some deep topics that are going to, we're going to have, I always say your Kung Fu needs to be strong, right? And these are things that you can use all the time, and you bring it up. You can bring it up to people when they think they've got you cornered on some argument. I'm not saying that I go out and just try to like win arguments, but you don't have to buy the cards or anything, but if you had them, you could do the game. I'll probably try it sometime. I don't really like watching the news, but it might be kind of fun if I turn it into a game. Or you can just write some down and learn what they are and then see if you can spot them. And I've been getting better. So, okay.
Maybe we can do a future episode of Spot the Fallacy or something.
Ooh, I like that. Like a quiz. I love quizzes or a little competition. So yeah, that would be great. Yeah, identify the fallacy. That'd be good. Well, has anybody got anything else? We got through our list. I think it was pretty good. And
I liked it. Yeah.
I did too. And hopefully, if you're watching or listening, you learned something. And you get just another tool for your tool belt. Keep your Kung Fu strong. And okay, that wraps it up for this time. Thanks for being with us. And remember to keep your powder dry, and we'll see ya.
I find your arguments strewn with gaping defects in logic.